The elevator doors slid shut with a quiet metallic click, sealing 7 strangers into a narrow space high above the city. At first, nothing seemed unusual. People stared at their phones. Someone adjusted their tie. The soft hum of the elevator motor echoed faintly as it climbed floor by floor. But within seconds, the atmosphere changed. A tension, sharp, sudden, and terrifying, spread through the elevator like cold smoke. 2 men standing near the control panel slowly stepped forward. Their expressions were hard, their eyes locked on one person inside the elevator, a well-dressed man in an expensive navy suit. He was the CEO of a powerful company, though at that moment his title meant nothing. One of the men moved closer, his voice low and threatening, while the other blocked the elevator buttons so no one could press them. The space suddenly felt smaller. The air felt heavier. Fear spread across every face. But before we continue this powerful story, take a moment to like this video, share it, comment below, and subscribe to the channel if you believe in kindness, courage, and second chances. Stories like this remind us that heroes sometimes appear in the most unexpected places. The man they were threatening, Daniel Mercer, was known across the city as a brilliant but distant CEO. His company owned half the glass towers downtown. People described him as disciplined, sharp, and sometimes cold. But inside that elevator, none of that power could protect him. One of the threatening men leaned closer to him, his presence dark and intimidating. The other watched the passengers carefully, making sure nobody interfered. The tension was so thick that even the quiet hum of the elevator seemed louder. Among the passengers stood someone no one noticed at first. He wore faded jeans and a gray work jacket with the name of a small maintenance company stitched on the pocket. His hair was slightly messy from a long day of work. In one hand, he held a small lunchbox with cartoon stickers on it. It didn't belong to him. It belonged to his daughter. His name was Marcus Hale, a 35-year-old single father who had just finished a double shift repairing electrical systems in the building. Life had not been easy for him. 3 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him to raise their 6-year-old daughter alone. Since then, Marcus had been balancing 2 jobs, sleepless nights, and the constant fear of failing the only person who truly depended on him. That lunchbox he carried was something he always kept in his bag. His daughter Lily had forgotten it that morning, and he had promised to bring it home after work. Inside were crumbs from her peanut butter sandwich and a small note she had drawn with crayons that simply said, "Love you, Dad." Marcus had seen many difficult days. But what he saw inside that elevator felt different. The 2 men were not simply angry. They were dangerous. The CEO tried to remain calm, but his face had turned pale. The men were speaking in low voices now, making it clear that whatever conflict existed between them and Mercer had been building for a long time. One of the men clenched his fists as if he were seconds away from doing something irreversible. No one moved. No one spoke. Fear froze everyone in place. Except Marcus. He watched quietly for several seconds, studying the situation. His heart pounded in his chest, but his thoughts drifted to Lily waiting at home. He imagined her small voice asking if he would read her favorite bedtime story again tonight. Marcus realized something in that moment. If violence happened here, everyone in the elevator could be in danger. Slowly, he stepped forward. Not aggressively. Not dramatically. Just one quiet step. The 2 men noticed him instantly and turned their attention toward him with irritation. To them, Marcus looked like nothing more than a tired worker who should mind his own business. But Marcus didn't look afraid. Instead, he looked calm. And then he said 6 simple words. 6 words that froze the entire elevator. "I have a daughter waiting for me." The sentence hung in the air like a sudden silence before a storm. For a moment, no one spoke. The threatening man who had been closest to the CEO stared at Marcus, confused by the unexpected response. That was not what he had expected to hear. There was no challenge in Marcus's voice, no anger, no attempt to threaten them back. Just honesty. Marcus slowly lifted the small lunchbox in his hand. It looked tiny compared to the tension inside the elevator. "My little girl forgot this morning," he said softly, his voice steady but emotional. "She's waiting for me to come home tonight." His words weren't loud, but something about them carried weight. Real weight. The kind that doesn't come from power or authority, but from love. The second man shifted uncomfortably. Something in the atmosphere changed. Marcus wasn't defending the CEO. He wasn't trying to act like a hero. He was simply reminding everyone in that elevator that every person inside that metal box had a life waiting outside of it. A family. A future. A reason to go home. For a long moment, the elevator remained silent. Then the man closest to Mercer slowly lowered his clenched fist. The anger in his eyes faded slightly, replaced by hesitation. The elevator dinged softly as it reached the next floor. The doors slid open. Without another word, the two men stepped out and walked away down the hallway, disappearing into the crowd of the building's busy corridors. No violence. No fight. Just 6 words that had shifted everything. Inside the elevator, people exhaled breaths they didn't realize they had been holding. The CEO stood frozen, still processing what had just happened. He looked at Marcus, the quiet maintenance worker who had changed the course of that moment with nothing but a reminder of something simple and human. When the elevator finally reached the lobby, Marcus stepped out like nothing unusual had happened. He adjusted the strap of his worn bag and walked toward the exit. Behind him, Daniel Mercer watched carefully. Sometimes the most powerful actions don't come from wealth, status, or authority. Sometimes they come from ordinary people who simply remember what truly matters. And Marcus Hale was one of those people. Before we reach the end of this story, I want to ask you something special. Comment below with the words, "Kindness still wins," if you believe that small acts of courage can change the world. Weeks later, something unexpected happened. Marcus was called into the building office where he worked. At first, he feared something was wrong. But instead, he was handed a letter. It came directly from Daniel Mercer. Inside was a simple message thanking him for his courage and humanity. Along with it came a life-changing offer, a new position overseeing safety operations across several company buildings, with better pay, stable hours, and enough time to finally be home for dinner with his daughter every night. For Marcus, it wasn't just a job. It was a second chance at life. And that night, when he walked through his front door, Lily ran into his arms holding the same little lunchbox he had carried that day. Sometimes heroes don't wear suits. Sometimes they carry lunchboxes. And sometimes 6 simple words can stop a moment of darkness before it begins. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need them today. Red Heart.